be hearing from Results Positive CEO, Mr. John Furner, as he explores generating tangible business outcomes with the unique functionality of the ServiceNow ITBM platform. And with that, we'll go ahead and turn the time over to John.
Thanks so much, Sean, and I wanted to welcome everyone to our webinar today. We look forward to highlighting how you can accelerate business value in your organization by extending your ServiceNow investments you might have already made through the ServiceNow IT Business Management solution. So what we'll be doing today is we'll be walking through some various practice areas around IT business management and highlighting how they can accelerate business value. In terms of the agenda, we'll briefly jump into introductions. Those of you that haven't been introduced to Results Positive, we'll highlight the service lifecycle and how that's supported with ServiceNow and ServiceNow ITBM. And then we'll jump into each practice area, highlight some practices that organizations use and that we see being used with our customers today. We will then walk through how that is supported in the ServiceNow solution, and then we'll follow it up by the key leverage points and value points you can drive value out of each one of these areas. And so we'll be highlighting demand management practices, project portfolio management, app portfolio management, and Agile. And at the end, we'll highlight standard starting points to your journey to value and highlight how we're helping organizations with health checks and rapid start implementations. So we have a full agenda today and look forward to your participation. As Sean mentioned, feel free to reach out if you have questions. In terms of introductions for Results Positive, we've been helping many organizations, actually over 300 organizations over the last 14 years. And we specialize in really focusing on technology business solutions that drive positive outcomes. And we do that through providing right-sized solutions and services. And so today we're going to be leveraging our focus around technology business management and our expertise in that area, which includes project portfolio management, IT financial management, as well as Agile and application portfolio management. Some of our core offerings that we provide to our customers around our advisory assessment services, as well as our overall implementation integration. And then we do provide ongoing managed services and software as a service for various enterprise solutions as well. So you can see on the right some of our customers that we've done business with and doing business with today. So next I wanted to jump right in and kind of talk briefly just about some of the imperatives that we're seeing in the industry today around technology business management. Many of you are probably faced with how do we do things faster? How do we speed the time to market? How do we utilize new technologies, automation, artificial intelligence, machine learning to really improve the delivery of applications as well as projects? How do you support new frameworks and hybrid frameworks, whether it be Agile or whether it be traditional or other delivery frameworks? And how do you manage the constant need for change and risk management, all while providing a consistent delivery of business value and outcomes? So we feel that this is really it's driving the continual focus around IT business management, but also a more increased focus around value generation. So first, I just wanted to kind of tie things together from a ServiceNow perspective. Many of you are probably using various portions of the ServiceNow platform. Many of you might be using the IT service management solution set. Some of you might also be using portions of the ServiceNow IT operations. And what's really nice here, when you look at it from an IT business management perspective, there's some great value points and ways to extend the value with your current investments that you might be having in IT service management or operations management with the overall business management capabilities. So for example, one area that we're highlighting today is around application portfolio management. That's a great way to leverage the investments you might have had today around discovery on the CMDB to really be able to auto-discover and be able to look at all the dependencies associated with your applications as you're managing that inventory. Next, from an ideation demand management perspective, you're able to have that self-service portal that you're using today in service management that can then generate and make sure that all that demand's coming in from one central location without having disparate systems. From a project management perspective, you're also able to tie into the discovery and the CMDB if appropriate, and be able to understand your new initiative and how that's going to impact your current operational environment. And then what's also nice here is around your agile development, being able to either set up visual task boards, Kanban boards, or support Scrum itself so that you can actually deliver projects quicker using various agile methodologies or even hybrid project management. So those at a high level are some of the core areas that we see of value that customers get by utilizing the service management, by utilizing the IT business management solution on top of their current investments with ServiceNow. So next I'd like to jump into demand management. So from a practice perspective, the core focus here with around demand management is being able to make sure that all the demands coming in, that visibility is provided to all the key decision makers and stakeholders. And then being able to categorize, prioritize, and assess that demand based upon cost and risk so that the key stakeholders can make the appropriate business decisions. I've noticed in the past in working with many customers, by having effective demand management, you can significantly really kind of shift your spending to more value-added initiatives across the organization. You can also avoid spending time and effort on every request that comes in. And by providing the visibility and the prioritization to your core decision makers, it's amazing how they'll start to say no to various items coming in, right? So those bugs that are coming in, or those new ideas, or those new projects, if they have that visibility, it's amazing how they'll start to determine which ones to focus in on. And so demand management is all about identifying how do we prioritize, categorize, how do we assess the demand coming in so we can select the actual projects to work on that are going to drive the most benefit and value to the organization. And some of those values might be just must-haves around compliance, or they might be to help grow the business. But it's all about then balancing the financial and resource capacity in the organization, which will lead us then into project portfolio management. So in terms of ServiceNow IT Business Management and how it's enables you to do your prioritization and do your assessment to determine which initiatives to work on, you've got multiple different capabilities. As I mentioned, first, you can start with make sure that all that demand comes in through your service portal. Next, you can have that demand come in. You can assess your demand. You can actually do surveys on that demand. And then you'll be able to look at that demand across risk and value dimensions and be able to determine, based on risk and value and cost, which of those various initiatives we should invest in. And so it gives you a nice visual way of managing that can provide that visibility to the core stakeholders so they know up front that we're going to invest in a high value, maybe high risk initiative, but we see the overall outcome much greater than focusing on something that is a lower value and maybe even lower risk. So it gives that type of visibility to your stakeholders in making business decisions. Next, I wanted to kind of highlight how do you accelerate value? Where does that come from when you are implementing demand management practices, as well as implementing the demand management capabilities within ServiceNow? So first, when we look at things from a business growth perspective, and here again, when you look at these numbers definitely vary based upon organizations, based on where they're at today. But we see an opportunity for organizations to really drive business growth by applying demand management practices. Number one, by having all the demand being visible, that will enable the organization to make sure they focus on the items that are going to drive the business value. Also being able to capture and quantify the business value for each initiative further helps with the selection process. And then the final prioritization of work so that it's aligned to and helping to drive business growth for the organization. So we found that significant. Next, we've found that by having and using a single platform, such as ServiceNow with the IT business management solution, there's an opportunity to rationalize applications in your organization. So many organizations were using multiple solutions to manage their demand, manage their projects, manage their service desk. Now they can utilize a single platform. They don't need to worry about integrations, the setup of those integrations, the maintaining of those integrations, and then being able to have built-in analytics, being able to have those automated surveys and assessments of demand were opportunities to really drive tangible savings by consolidating or rationalizing the number of applications supporting demand management, as well as tying that into your service management capabilities. And then from an overall cost savings, you'll see this as a theme by having and using workflow and automation, as well as analytics, all within the same platform, not having to pull the data out and analyze it in other solutions, drives a lot of efficiency and just overall cost savings in the organization. So those are where we see the value points and where you can accelerate value with your demand management practices, but also using a single platform with ServiceNow IT Business Management. Next, I want to talk a little bit about project portfolio management. And when I look at project portfolio management, I like to use the analogy of managing your own personal investment. And so we all know that for our investment portfolio, we want to have a balanced portfolio. And at times, we actually want to have an imbalanced portfolio, meaning we might want to have high risk and high reward sets of investments we might have in our own stock portfolio versus more safe and stable savings accounts, as an example. And that's really what we're looking at doing here with project portfolio management, is being able to identify and manage multiple portfolios. What we're seeing many organizations do is kind of follow the Gartner view of portfolios. So what's the portfolio we need to continue to invest in to run the business and to continue to deliver the products and services that the organization is responsible for today? How do we also want to invest in growing the business, creating new products, creating new services so that we continue to compete or to improve our marketplace position? Next, what are our investments to help transform the organization? How can the organization be transformed to meet some of these business imperatives of speed to market, for example? And so it's being able to assess and understand your portfolio, what's the right portfolio mix, and what's the overall costs and outcomes of that portfolio. And some organizations are focusing more on the value side of their portfolio. What's the return we're going to get on these investments? And those returns can vary, as we kind of alluded to earlier, in terms of some demand management practices. So in terms of ServiceNow and how ServiceNow can assist you with your portfolio planning, there's a couple of really good capabilities here. First, I can really analyze your overall portfolio and be able to perform some real-time what-if analysis against your portfolio. As you can see here, I can visually look at all the different projects as well as those proposed demands and view that portfolio, look at that from a risk value perspective, and see what we're investing in. I can also then real time adjust the selection of these various projects or demands, and it'll then let me know immediately, real time, what would be my overall financial obligations to support that portfolio. Also, it would provide me with visibility into our overall resource capacity, resource constraints, where we might need to secure additional resources if necessary to deliver those solutions and deliver that business value to the organization. In addition to that, as you are selecting those individual projects, you can see here I can easily select which projects that we want to continue in our portfolio. Real time, it'll make my updates in terms of my financial, my resource constraints, but also then be able to look at an overall roadmap of when that value will be delivered to the organization. And so by putting in and managing your portfolio, you can start to see how these various initiatives are going to drive outcomes to the organization. So in terms of looking at how do you accelerate business value with project portfolio management? So we see it in three different areas. First, from a business growth perspective. By having a balanced portfolio and focusing on value, then you're going to really focus on prioritizing and working on initiatives that are going to drive the biggest return to the organization. And then you'll be able to optimize that portfolio mix. So by having that visibility into your portfolio, understanding the costs and your constraints, but also understanding what your goals are in terms of how much do we want to invest in growth versus run the business. And so what we've seen organizations be able to do is shift, 10% of their investments or more towards growth initiatives. Seen organizations make a quantum shift from 70% to run the business to almost 70% for growing the business, as an example. And so as you focus on those type of initiatives, that will just generate an increased revenue for the organization. From a cost avoidance perspective, what we found really effective here in project portfolio management is having the visibility into these proposed projects or even in-flight projects. When we're able to look at the value and risk of these projects, we're able to look at the costs associated with these projects. But we're also able to look at the outcomes and how does it currently align or not align with our strategies, and then provide those opportunities to have those value-based approvals. What we found is it's an opportunity to avoid investing in projects that aren't going to drive the most value for the organization. Also, it gives us insights into which particular projects we should stop. Just because we started a project, we found out that doesn't necessarily mean we should continue with that investment based upon the dynamic nature of technology and the dynamic nature of various industries. It's important to really check your portfolio, check what's in flight, at least on a quarterly basis, because that might be outdated, and that continual investment in that initiative isn't going to drive overall benefits. So by avoiding investing in things that aren't going to drive value or stopping current investments can drive some savings from a cost avoidance perspective. And then from an overall efficiency perspective, by having an overall repeatable workflow, using automation to do some auto categorization and be able to really help with some of those assessment of those initiatives, and then be able to provide that analytics and reducing the effort for reporting and visibility into your projects, thereby reducing your overall support efforts and driving savings that way. So these are some of the key areas that we see in driving business value and actual return on investment around project portfolio management. And next, I want to talk a little bit about application portfolio management practices. And when we see with many organizations, a lot of their investments in technology, obviously there's the technical infrastructure, but we see that reducing due to the focus on cloud and SaaS-based solutions. But we see there's an abundance focus and investment around applications. And what we've also found is organizations are also doing mergers and acquisitions. They're now faced with an opportunity where they have multiple applications that are supporting multiple business capabilities or multiple business processes. So they have an opportunity to really understand their inventory, understand how they align to the overall business strategy, as well as how they support various business capabilities, thereby coming up with an opportunity to disposition applications or establish a roadmap for each application on when that application should be end of life, when that application should be retired because it's redundant today. So we've seen a lot of really strong, tangible business cases when it comes to effective application portfolio management. One thing that's really key here is not just the upfront inventory and getting access and visibility into your applications, but the ongoing managing and monitoring of your applications and assessing how those applications are supporting the business, assessing how they're being used. As the marketplace changes and the business changes, some applications start to become more stale. Those applications are no longer used, or their usage declines because new innovations and new applications are being used by the organization. And so it's important to continually monitor those applications, get feedback from business owners and business users on their satisfaction and the quality of those applications as well. So you can factor that into the core decisions to determine whether or not this application is an application that we should retire or should we continue to invest. What's also interesting about application portfolio management, it's really the genesis for many of your new proposed demands as well as your projects. So as you are monitoring your applications and the need for new capabilities with those applications, that will then generate new projects that you need to work on. And so having that all in one solution provides additional value and leverage for the organization. Just wanted to highlight here, just very briefly, in terms of how you can start to assess your applications by using the ServiceNow solution. And you can basically look at those applications by time period. You can filter that based on various health indicators, whether that be cost of support, whether that be customer satisfaction, whether that be overall risk, and then be able to look at that and see what the current disposition of those applications are, whether they are on your retirement roadmap, whether they're on your growth and enhancement roadmap, or whether they're on your maintain. And so you can constantly monitor that. And what's really key is looking at those growth and applications. That way you can identify what are those enhancements, what are those things we need to do to invest so that we can increase that speed to market, or we can provide that new product capability to fit that need in the marketplace. So it's really key to be able to assess and analyze and rationalize applications on an ongoing basis. In terms of how we see that organizations can accelerate value through application portfolio management, we kind of see that here in three key areas. First of all, what we see that the best practices really working with enterprise architects and enabling them and helping them with overall strategic planning. Not only looking at your application inventory, but really starting off with your business capabilities, your business processes, and even technologies. And so as part of those strategic plans, knowing where the business is going and understanding what the current business capability requirements are, as well as what the future business capability requirements are, that will then determine what are those portfolio investments we need to continue to grow the business, to make sure that we can achieve those strategic objectives. And that's then going to generate that revenue that the organization is looking for. So this is a key area to help drive revenue, but seeing that I can get access and be able to support these core functions using the application portfolio management solution. And then the core thing that we all understand from a app portfolio management capability is all about rationalization. But what's interesting here, those of you that are using the ServiceNow platform, say you're already using Discovery with the CMDB, that can be a great starting point so that you can quickly automate the inventory of your applications, then be able to use the capabilities to analyze those applications, determine which applications we should invest in, which ones we should retire, and be able to manage and support that disposition and decision-making process. So we've seen significant tangible savings here. If you think about a merger and acquisition, the make that strategic acquisition. They have complementary solutions, but they typically all have redundant corporate back-end systems. So there's great opportunity there to rationalize that and come up with a core solution set. I know one of our customers, and they do a lot of acquisitions on an annual basis, and they have a very great process for onboarding these new businesses. And they're able to, within 6 to 9 months, consolidate and take those new business entities and take them off of their old ERP systems and now have them on just one single ERP system going forward. So significant savings there in that particular example. But we've also found other examples where without having visibility to your applications, you're going to find that you have multiple applications that support multiple capabilities and processes. So you have an opportunity to do some rationalization there just within your current inventory. And then being able to have a solution that supports your workflow, helps to automate some of your analysis, provides that analytics. Kind of a common theme that we're seeing is those improvements in efficiencies and reduction in effort to support and manage your application portfolio. You think about additional automation here with discovery, helps to drive overall cost savings. Next, just wanted to highlight briefly how you can really support multiple delivery practices within ServiceNow's IT business management solution. And so not only can you manage Agile, and whether it be Scrum or Kanban, as well as SAFe, you can manage your traditional projects from a waterfall perspective, or you can do a hybrid approach or Scrum Fall, whatever term you might want to use, or others are just looking at it from an iterative perspective. What's also nice here in ServiceNow, those of you that might be using it, say on the service management side, you can really create your visual task board and be able to manage projects and issues and tasks just from a visual task board or iterative development process as well. So that's ServiceNow's solution is really one of the only solutions that I can manage all these different types in one particular solution. Many organizations are using other point solutions here in Agile, so that can be supported in terms of an integration where you can take that information in and roll it up into an overall project so you can have visibility from a PMO perspective. So in terms of providing some just some high-level examples of how you can utilize ServiceNow, first I wanted to highlight, just say if you were just using pure Scrum as part of your Agile development framework and you wanted to be able to put together your backlogs, manage your stories, manage your sprints, even manage your epics, you can do that here with the out-of-the-box capabilities, so that portions of your organization that might be supporting mobile e-commerce sites can be able to function and manage their projects in an agile delivery fashion. Next, you can easily support Kanban, visual task boards. So depending on how your organization likes to manage projects or project tasks, project assignments, you can set that up in visual task boards or Kanban boards in managing your delivery. What's nice here is not only can you create this visual task board, but it could be taken from a traditional waterfall project and you're just looking at managing the tasks more in a Kanban fashion. So it really supports that hybrid delivery model. What's nice with the hybrid delivery model is that you're able to still do your traditional resource management and financial management, but you're able to make sure that the work is done in an agile fashion to help with that speed to market. Here's another example from a hybrid perspective. You're seeing kind of an overall traditional waterfall project plan here. You're seeing here in the middle a couple of agile sprints, and those are being managed within the system with their user stories, but it's being rolled up here into your overall project plan. Same thing can be accomplished, say, with an integration into your current agile solution and have it rolled up here so you understand what the team's working on. So in terms of accelerating value with Agile. We definitely see multiple key areas here as well. So the first area is all about creating that speed to market. The quicker you can get those products to market, the more revenue you'll be able to generate for the organization. So being able to have the ability to have ideation and capture all your ideas and be able to have an ideation portal, increase that collaboration from an Agile perspective, which will then generate that speed to market and be able to, can actually use the platform to tie into some of your various DevOps tools to automate some of the automation of code, thereby generating your overall speed to market and increasing your revenue. From a product portfolio perspective, being able to use satisfaction surveys to understand the voice of the customer, being able to put in your overall product backlog and prioritize that backlog based on the output of your various customer inputs. And then from there, being able to optimize and really maximize which products you focus on in terms of revenue generation. And you can use obviously the portfolio capabilities for that, but also be able to use that as part of your backlog management. And then the standard here around efficiency improvements, workflow, automation, and just analytics, not having to do the heavy lifting, but tie multiple systems together to look at analytics, having the built-in automation if you were to do that in terms of deployment automation. So those are some of the key areas that we see in driving value from Agile development. So typically then customers ask and are wondering, well, where are the starting points? Where can I look at generating value? Do I have to start with everything or can I start in different areas? And so we see multiple different starting points to drive value. Some organizations just start off with application portfolio management and they can just turn on that capability and start getting an inventory of their applications, being able to start analyzing, rationalize their applications. Other organizations, we see a common starting point is demand management. So making sure that all that demand's coming in, so you get that whole visibility, so then you know what you're deciding to work on, and you're not working on lower value initiatives because you have that full visibility of all that demand coming in. And really focusing on that prioritization, business cases, and value ratings to help drive that prioritization. Project delivery, we see organizations starting off with whether it be Agile development or whether it be overall project management and project delivery. And what we see there is some organizations are focused more on schedule and delivery versus other organizations are focused on making sure they capture the demand. Or down here, we're seeing organizations that kind of really want to focus on getting everything up and running. So they want to make sure they have demand, they want to make sure they have delivery, they want to make sure that they have project portfolio management. So those are the common starting points. And say if you were to start in demand and project delivery, you could start there, and then you could, next phase could be around project delivery. The next phase would be around portfolio management. So there's a sequencing of things as well, if you're not going to do the big bang, if you will, for all the capabilities. So in terms of helping customers with their journey, we provide formal assessments and roadmaps. So those are paid engagements. We also provide a free health check for organizations as well. So that's where we do a couple of discovery sessions, understand where they're at today, provide them with recommendations and findings, and a high-level roadmap. So that's something that's been very beneficial, and it's an opportunity for us to partner with our customers and demonstrate the value that we can provide and give them an ability to understand an effective roadmap. We also help organizations with our multiple rapid start packages. So the one we're highlighting here is around PPM, but we cover that in all the different areas here around IT business management. We have different rapid start packages, and a lot of that's based upon size of organizations, as well as kind of the maturity of organizations and the level of complexity required. But we have those Rapid Start packages starting in 4, 6, 8, and 10-week packages so that we can accelerate their time to value and provide them with the capabilities they need to initiate the various practices that they are planning to implement. We do have customer case studies here for some of our recent initiatives. So whether it be Agile project delivery initiative, whether it be overall project management implementation, or whether it be end-to-end ITSM implementation. Just a few examples of our customer case studies. Both of these case studies here included our upfront health check assessment, followed by a roadmap and implementation. And both of these were using our Rapid Start implementation approach. So we feel it's an opportunity for everyone to start their journey today. Different ways of starting your journey. We could schedule an ITBM discovery discussion. From there, we could identify the right approach, SOW on a specific capability, and be off and running. If you're looking for something a little bit more robust there and more of a roadmap, we can plan and schedule assessment or health check, and then to be able to provide you with a roadmap and provide you with an estimate around implementation. Or we could just focus in on a Rapid Start implementation. We have some customers, they know what they already need to do, and they're looking for a quick way to get time to value. So we've enjoyed helping many customers, over 300 customers with their journeys, and we look forward to doing that with many more going forward. So we've listed some of our sales contacts here. You can reach out to any of our account executives here, and they'll be able to assist you in discussing your journey and your needs, and how we can best assist you in making your journey a reality. So I wanted to thank everyone from attending today. We've enjoyed your participation. I'm going to turn it back over to Sean to see if we have any questions that we can answer for anyone. But thanks again for participating today. Hopefully you're able to find the session today valuable and identify some of those value opportunities with the various business practices we discussed today.